Hey YouTube, this is the Art of Prepping. Just wanted to talk about the fickle masses, the fidgeting restlessness, the unsettled nature of humanity. You may have noticed that some of my videos lately kind of seem philosophical. I don't sometimes try to do that, but sometimes that's how my mind works, so just bear with me if you would. So when I talk about these fickle masses and this restlessness and the unsettled nature of people, what do we see here? Well, we see that people are people, but we also see a society that isn't congruent with the human condition and the needs of the people. And you may say, well, people are getting water and food, and they're somewhat distracted. You know, they're not like totally bored out of their mind. But are they, though? And that's the question. I think that people are more bored than they actually give off. People just kind of do what they have to do, or they do things repetitiously, and they've gotten into a rhythm of just monotony. And because of that, though, there's not really a challenge in their life. There's not a lot of things that they look forward to. And that kind of leads to that path of feeling that you're not content. And because you're not doing, because we know that now that through past videos, that the action of doing, is the way to happiness. So you can't buy your way to happiness, but you have to have an act or a behavior to create the happiness. If you're not doing it, and you're not doing happiness, if you will, then you aren't actually going to be happy, and you're not going to be fulfilled, you're not going to be content, and you're going to be searching for that fix, for that happiness, and it's going to be ever fleeting because you're going to try to do little things to kind of psych yourself out, like, maybe buying something or trying to convince yourself that, if I just do this, or if I just kind of join this club or something like that, then I'll be totally happy. And it may or may not really give you any extra happiness at all. So why are people so unsettled and so feisty? I think people are, especially in larger cities. I don't go into larger cities hardly at all anymore. But when I do, people are just so edgy, and they're so just wound up. And there's not very much of a threshold there before that, that very thin onion we've talked about of being a civilized person and being a very primitive person, if you will. And so the veneer is really thin in some cities. Some cities, there's a lot slower pace, and there's a lot more personability and relatability, and I think that they do a little bit better. But some of these really large cities, though, there's just such an impersonal nature about the place. You're just another body, another number. You're just kind of a walking dead. And people just relate to each other as these zombies, if you will, figuratively speaking. And so in your group, at least in your family, don't treat each other like zombies. Be personable. Sit down and have a real conversation at least every few days. Every few days. I mean, seriously, people. I know back in the day, everybody sat down at the dinner table, and some people say, that's a myth. That never always happened with everybody. And it may be true. Even 100 years ago, it may have been true that not everybody sat down at the dinner table at the same time and had a conversation and had a meal. But I'd say a majority of people, I know in my family it happened, and most of my friends and neighbors, they always sat down, in fact, almost every meal together. So things have changed so much with the TV dinners, and then with all the TV programs, and people working extra jobs because they can't live on one income, or just basically, families being broken up and people living by themselves, single parents, and there's really no reason to eat with anybody because there's no one to eat with. So that kind of is a really bad thing. But in terms of those people who have families that are together, it's important to do things together, not just eating your meals together, but actually having, meaningful activities, meaningful things. And that'll kind of shake out some of that fickleness, that fidgeting, the unsettledness that people, they're kind of like this. They're just like having like a fiend. They're fiending for companionship and for connection and for love. And if you give that to each other in the family, if you have those relationships, people are so much more stable. Especially if you look at kids, for example, in school and in developmental levels. If kids come from a really solid family, man, and the family is very lovely and warming, and they're not like pushy, and they're real understanding, and they let the child develop as they actually develop naturally, and they just support them, they're so much more apt to turn out a lot more healthy, man, than someone that's just like pushy, and never really communicate why I have to be so pushy and put all this pressure and expectations on the kids. Don't be like that, Don't also try to bribe your children, like, oh, I'll give you so much money if you get A's or B's, and try to buy your children's way into education or intelligence. They actually have to really want to do that. Now, you can be rewarding, but don't ever try to like buy out other people, and try to, convince them that you have emotions because you gave them some cash or something. The best thing you can really do is give someone your time, and maybe share some of your talent and some of your wisdom, even your skill sets and hobbies. Even if they don't have the same hobby, just to share that with them. Some people are just so appreciative that you go out of your way. I have some people that I know that they kind of don't really pay attention, even though if I was to spend a great amount of effort and time with them, I don't really know how much they would even appreciate that. They may say at the end of the day, I appreciate you coming over, but you don't get that heartfelt feeling when you leave that, that they actually appreciated it. And then there's other people that are just like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that you're here and that you spent, 6 hours with me doing this or that or whatever. And you can tell with the body language and everything, their whole being, that they appreciated you. So within prepping, you have to appreciate each other, especially if you're in a prepping group or a family. And even if you're by yourself, you should be very appreciative of not only just your support and your other friends. Even if your friends are not into prepping, you should be appreciative of what you have as a resource. And it can be difficult though, especially if you are by yourself. I'm not going to say it isn't, but the best you can do though is to keep reinforcing of why you're doing what you're doing. And even if someone doesn't know that you're helping them or prepping for them, because it may be like a family member that doesn't prep, or it could be an elderly person on your street that you want to prep for, and you don't even tell them that you're doing it. You can actually get a lot of strength from that. You can pull down deep down and get strength from that, because you are being unselfish, and you're actually, it's a type of charity, and so that can't be a bad thing at all. And it's a good thing. That you're actually helping someone, and the day if they ever needed that, God forbid, you're there with that 72-hour pack, or you're there with that bag of extra resources to get them through, before the Red Cross gets there, or before whatever agency in your area, or FEMA or whatever, if they even ever eventually show up. So with that, you guys take care and stay together, be united as a family. Communicate openly with each other. Don't hold back too many emotions. Just be honest, but be respectful, and to always appreciate what you have and who you have in your life. As always, you guys take care. Catch you real soon.